We should keep moving, she whispers. They stand in the doorway between rooms, not inside one, not fully in the other, caught in a narrow threshold that was never meant to hold anyone for long. The ballroom hums behind them, warm with conversation and music. Ahead, the corridor stretches quieter, cooler, lined with tall windows that reflect candlelight in long pale streaks. The Duke does not answer immediately. He has stopped walking, one hand still lightly at her elbow, guiding her as he had moments earlier through the crowd. The pause was meant to be brief. A courtesy, a moment to let another group pass. Instead they remain. Yes, he says at last. We should. His hand does not move. She becomes aware of the exact placement of his fingers, the gentle pressure, the steadying weight. Not gripping, not pulling, simply there, as if the continuation of motion has been delayed rather than denied. You stopped, she says. Yes. And you didn't let go. No. Her breath tightens. The doorway frames them perfectly. A liminal space that belongs to neither room. Guests pass nearby, skirts brushing the air, voices rising and falling. Anyone glancing their way would see nothing improper. Only a Duke pausing with a companion, perhaps exchanging a word. Only she can feel how long this pause has lasted. You're blocking the way, she murmurs. Yes. And you're aware of that. Yes. She shifts her weight, preparing to step forward into the corridor, to free herself from the closeness and the attention it brings. His hand tightens just slightly, not enough to restrain, but enough to register intention. She stills. You said we should keep moving, he says quietly. I did. And you haven't. She looks up at him, caught between annoyance and something warmer she refuses to name. You didn't give me time, she says. I gave you space, he replies. That's not the same. No, he agrees. It isn't. They stand there, the doorway holding them in its narrow frame. She can feel the warmth of him now, closer than escort requires, the faint brush of his coat against her sleeve when he shifts his stance. You're very comfortable with silence, she says. Yes. And with proximity. Yes. That's dangerous. Yes. The honesty in his voice unsettles her more than denial would have. A pair of guests passes behind her, close enough that she hears the soft rustle of fabric. She becomes acutely aware of how this must look. The Duke angled slightly toward her, his hand still at her arm, her body turned just enough that the corridor ahead is no longer her clear path. People are watching, she says under her breath. Yes. And you're not moving. No. She exhales slowly, steadying herself. You don't usually hold people in doorways. I don't usually stop, he replies. She arches a brow. Then why now? He considers that. Because you asked us to keep moving, he says. Not because you wanted to go, but because you noticed we'd stopped. Her chest tightens. That's an assumption. It's an observation, he corrects. She shakes her head slightly. You read far too much into things. No, he says. I read what people don't contradict. The words linger between them, heavier than the moment warrants. She glances past him into the corridor, then back over her shoulder toward the ballroom. The choice of direction suddenly feels more significant than it should. We can't stand here all night, she says. No. And you're making it very difficult to pretend this is nothing. Yes. She laughs softly without humor. You're infuriating. Yes. Her attempt to step forward resumes slowly, deliberately. His hand remains, but it does not tighten further. Instead, it shifts, sliding from her elbow to rest at her forearm, the contact warmer, more deliberate. The movement sends a quiet shiver through her. You're still holding me, she says. Yes. You don't usually ignore hints. No. And you're doing it anyway. Yes. She meets his gaze fully now, no longer pretending this is accidental. You're not going to release me unless I ask, she says. No. And if I don't? Then we'll remain here, he replies. Until you decide where you're going. The simplicity of the statement disarms her. You're making this my decision, she says. It always was, he replies. A servant approaches, pauses when they do not move, then quietly steps around them, offering a polite nod to the Duke before disappearing down the corridor. She feels the weight of that small accommodation settle over them. This is becoming noticeable, she murmurs. Yes. And you don't mind. I mind very much, he says quietly. That's why I'm being careful. Her breath catches. You don't look careful. I am, he replies. I haven't moved you an inch. That's not reassuring. No, he agrees. But it's accurate. She studies him, the calm composure, the lack of urgency, the way his attention does not flicker to the room behind them or the corridor ahead. You don't rush, she says. No. And you don't retreat. No. That leaves very little room. Only if you're trying to escape, he replies. She stiffens slightly. I'm not. I know. The certainty in his voice sends a pulse of something unfamiliar through her. She takes a breath. Then why are we still here? He leans in just enough that his voice drops lower. Meant only for her. Because you haven't stepped away, he says. You've only suggested motion. The distinction matters more than she wants it to. She closes her eyes briefly, steadying herself against the sensation of being seen too clearly. When she opens them again, she shifts closer. Not forward, not backward, but inward, angling her body toward him. The movement is small. It is not accidental. His hand adjusts immediately, sliding more securely along her forearm to rest near her wrist, anchoring her with deliberate gentleness. His breath changes. Just slightly. You're very composed, she murmurs. Yes. And you're enjoying this. No, he replies. I'm acknowledging it. She lets out a slow breath. You're splitting hairs. I'm drawing lines, he says. So you know exactly where you stand. Her heart pounds. And where do I stand? He looks at their hands, the place where he still holds her, then back to her face. In the doorway, he says. Because you haven't chosen a room. The truth of it settles over her with quiet force. She could step into the corridor. She could turn back to the ballroom. She could ask him to release her. She does none of those things. People will assume things, she says softly. Yes. And you'll let them. I won't correct what I'm willing to be seen doing, he replies. Her breath stutters. That's a very public position. Yes. And you don't usually take them. No. She looks at him steadily. Then why now? He does not answer immediately. When he does, his voice is calm, grounded. Because you didn't say let go, he says. You said we should keep moving. Her fingers curl slightly where his hand rests. That wasn't permission. No, he agrees. It was awareness. She exhales slowly. You're very sure of yourself, she says. No, he replies. I'm very sure you know what's happening. Silence stretches between them, the doorway holding them like a held breath. Then she speaks again, her voice quieter now. We should keep moving, she repeats. Yes, he says. And you're still not letting me go. No. She meets his gaze. Why? He leans in just enough that his shoulder nearly brushes hers, his voice low and even. Because if you wanted to go, he says, you would have gone. Her heart races. That's not fair. No, he agrees. But it's honest. She draws a steady breath. If we stay here any longer, she says, this stops being polite. Yes. And becomes something else. Yes. She studies him for a long moment, weighing the truth of it. Then she does something she didn't intend to do. She stills completely. Not pulling away. Not stepping forward. Choosing the pause. His hand tightens just a fraction in acknowledgement. You didn't move, he says quietly. No. And you're not asking me to release you. No. The air between them feels charged now, the doorway no longer neutral. This is where people notice, she says. Yes. And you're still holding me. Yes. She lifts her chin slightly, meeting his gaze without flinching. Then don't pretend this is an accident, she says. He inclines his head, a small, deliberate acknowledgement. I haven't been pretending, he replies. They remain there, framed by the doorway, neither advancing nor retreating. The pause stretched long enough to become a statement. And as the music swells faintly from the ballroom behind them, she understands with sudden clarity. This moment was only meant to last a breath. They are the ones who decided it wouldn't. They stay in the doorway long enough that the pause stops feeling accidental, settles into something deliberate. The music from the ballroom swells and recedes, a distant rhythm that reminds her time is still moving even if they are not. People pass behind her now and then, skirts brushing the air, voices lowering briefly before resuming. No one speaks to them. No one interrupts. The Duke's hand remains at her forearm, steady, unapologetic. You know, she says quietly. This is the part where people start forming conclusions. Yes, he replies. And you're comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with accuracy, he says. She exhales softly. You're impossible. Yes. She turns her head slightly, studying his face in the softened light of the corridor. There is no impatience there. No urgency. Just resolve. You're not waiting for me to move, she says. No. You're waiting for me to decide. Yes. The truth of it steadies her more than it should. She shifts her weight, not to step away but to face him more fully. The movement brings her closer, narrowing the space until the warmth of him is unmistakable. His hand adjusts automatically, sliding just enough to remain aligned with her. The contact intimate now simply because it has endured. This has gone on too long to be polite, she says. Yes. And too publicly to be private. Yes. She lets out a quiet laugh. You really don't leave much room for excuses. I don't find them useful, he replies. Her gaze flicks past him once more. Down the corridor toward the quieter rooms, toward an exit that suddenly feels symbolic. If I step forward, she says slowly, this becomes something else. Yes. And if I turn back, then it ends, he finishes. Without drama. She looks back at him. You'd let it end. Yes. And you wouldn't follow. No. The certainty of that choice, real respected, makes her chest tighten. She takes a breath. Then another. And instead of moving forward or backward, she does something simpler. She rests her free hand lightly over his. The gesture is unmistakable. His breath shifts, just slightly, but he does not tighten his hold, does not claim more than she offers. You didn't let go, he says quietly. No. And you didn't ask me to. No. The corridor feels smaller now, not because of walls but because of meaning. This isn't how things usually begin, she murmurs. No, he agrees. It's how they begin when neither person intends to pretend later. That lands deep. She nods once, decision settling with surprising calm. Then we shouldn't stay here, she says. No, he agrees. And you should walk with me, she continues. Not because we paused, but because we chose to continue. His gaze sharpens, not possessive, not triumphant. Aligned. He releases her forearm then, not abruptly, not fully, but slides his hand to her side, resting it at her waist in a way that no longer pretends to be incidental. The contact is deliberate, visible. You're certain, he says. Yes. And you understand what that looks like. Yes. Then, he replies quietly, we move together. They step out of the doorway. Not quickly, not defiantly, simply forward. The corridor opens, guests parting naturally as they pass. No one speaks. No one questions. The assumption forms without resistance. Later, when they reach the edge of the terrace and the night air cools the warmth lingering between them, she finally exhales fully. That doorway was dangerous, she says. Yes. And you didn't let me hide in it. No. She looks up at him. Thank you. He lifts a brow slightly. For what? For not pulling me through it, she says. And not letting me pretend I wasn't standing there by choice. He nods once. I respect decisions made with eyes open. She smiles faintly. You're very consistent. I try to be. They stand there a moment, the estate quieting behind them, the night stretching open ahead. When I said we should keep moving, she says softly, I think I was testing whether you would. Yes. And you didn't. No. She turns toward him, resting her hand once more over his at her waist. Good, she says. His mouth curves faintly. Yes, he agrees.